Okay.
All right. All right. All right. All right. I think we're all set. And yeah, now we start talking as if there's people watching us. How are you, man?
I'm good, Joshua Mays. It's good to see you,
Yes,
man. It's been a while.
it has been a while. Um, I guess like go through I should go through the most motions of introducing you. Um, the esteemed.
Nah, I can introduce myself. It's easy.
Yeah, if you
Just
will.
for all your supporters and people that, you know, follow all your work. My name is King James Britt, and I'm a musician, producer, and educator. Based in San Diego, but born and raised in Philly, which is where I met Joshua Mays, incidentally. I think that's where we met. We didn't meet in LA, right?
We met in Philly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we met in Philly, yeah.
yeah,
Because I remember there were a few do-over parties and, different events that you were there.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I was born and raised in Philly, the Philadelphia, and been producing for 35 plus years, music, of course, but also dabbling into curatorial endeavors, lots of collaborations, one including um, a collaboration with Joshua in Philly for this beautiful mural, Dreams, Diaspora, and Destiny.
That's right.
All right,
The
it's been a
3D.
minute. I'm sorry. The 3Ds, 3D, and which was wow. That was really such a powerful project. I wish we could do one in San Diego,
we
actually.
gotta, we gotta, we gotta figure. We definitely could come together with, uh, like connect with Blue, the augmented reality crew, and see
Mhm.
if they'd be willing to add another chapter to the story.
Yeah,
Like why not? And add it to the latest of what both of us are doing.
especially
Like
now with the technology has advanced
absolutely.
so fast since we
Yeah.
did that. So now the AirPods that are spatialized,
Okay.
imagine having those, and most kids have them now who
Yeah, yeah,
have
yeah.
iPhones. They're coming with the iPhones, right? It's
Yeah.
like when you move your head, the sound moves. It's
Oh,
just
really?
wild. Yeah, we do all of this here at school.
Okay.
We have a whole lab called the SPAT lab here at UCSD. I'm a professor at UCSD, by the way.
Okay.
And yeah, it's crazy, man. Like just in the past, I guess it's been 3 years since I saw you. About 3 years, yeah.
Has it been? It just
It doesn't feel like
exactly.
3 years because we kind of always just pick up,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it is 3 years, and we did go through and still going through a pandemic
Yes.
in quarantine, but for some reason it just doesn't seem like. You know why? I follow you on IG,
Uh-huh.
and there's a certain kind of that infiltrates time.
Sure.
It's
Definitely.
like we're in two kind of worlds. We're in this digital world, and then we're in kind of in real life,
Yes.
and they kind of bleed into one another. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like with the pandemic,
Hmm.
it accelerated, you know, that
Hmm.
aspect of things, the digital pervasion, and
Yeah.
I'm super excited, when it comes to the storytelling possibilities, and the ability to transcend space and time to present value to people. There's just so much uh to tap into and to activate, so yeah, I think it's been a crazy past few years, man, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. Talk a little bit about what you are doing in San Diego and the
Yeah.
program that you pulled together, like that.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I, I,
So
go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. So this opportunity. revealed itself for me to become a professor here at UCSD to apply. And at first I was like, "Ah, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it." And the lady I was dating at the time, she was like, "Yo, you should do it just to kind of see your CV all in one place and all your accomplishments. Because, as an independent artist, you're always on the hustle, man. Like, it's
Yeah.
just reality. You have bills to pay, you have three irons in the fire. You finish one project, you jump right into the next. You never get time to just sit and really assess and look at all of your accomplishments, right? And so for many years, that was my MO, like just after another, not thinking. And so
Mm.
to take this time, I was like, okay, so this is a nice exercise to kind of condense everything and figure out, get my CV, do all the paperwork. And I really wasn't, I was like, I'm not going to get this, whatever. But it was either based on PhD or based on work in the field, which my work in the field it's pretty immense. But
Yeah.
I didn't really realize it till I saw it all together. I'm like, oh wait, maybe I do have a chance. And so I handed it in, and then, uh, you know, a year later, or not even a year later, 4 months later, going through the process and interview, and I got it. I was like, whoa! And then my whole life switched and changed.
Yeah.
So I came out here for 2 years. Well, you as a new professor, you do a 2 year. If you like it, you can get out of it or whatever. You do a 2 year stint, and then you get a review. And so within those 2 years, man, because if you're coming from our world, we're constantly just on it.
Yeah.
And so I went head in, like I just dove in, and in 2 years I did so much work, and then when my review came up, they're like, "Oh, yeah, you have to stay," and I wanted to stay, and
We
it
need
was
you.
it was beautiful. Yeah, it was beautiful. And it felt good to be. When I first started, there was the imposter syndrome. You're like,
Mm. Uh,
"Oh, why am I here?" I mean, my colleagues are all incredible, like Pulitzer Prize, Grammys, and this and that, and they've invented software that had changed the world, but I forget, and it took me a minute to ground myself in, like, yo,
yeah.
I'm King Britt. Like, not on an ego thing, but like I've done a lot
No,
to
you are a
do.
cultural archive, and the work that you've done,
Sound old.
like
Yes, yes.
not like I dove into the like it's just crazy because there's a an excitement when he told me that you're a professor,
Yes.
at UCSD, and it's in a it's in a study that you created,
Oh, right.
and
So I'll tell you what that is.
yeah,
Well, I'll tell
go
your
ahead.
viewers, and then you can continue, right?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
to give them the background, right? So I got here. Of course, my job, my focus. I'm in the computer music department, which encompasses electronic music production. So I'm
Mhm.
here teaching electronic music production, in the studio, recording, MIDI techniques, all of this stuff. Things that this is what I do, right? But, and also with that, storytelling of how I got here. And of course, I'm 53 now. So I also show the technology, how it's changed over the years, right? But there was something missing.
Mhm.
So in a lot of the electronic music histories that are taught in academia, it excludes people of color, and it also excludes modern day house, drum and bass,
Mm.
dub, funk, um, the LA beat scene, like all of this.
Yeah,
Nothing
yeah.
is being talked about in academia. A little bit of Detroit techno here and there,
Sure.
and sometimes ball culture, but not like specific class based on new electronic music that have advanced, has pushed forward where we are today.
Yes.
And so I'm like, I went to my chair. I was like, can I start this class called Blacktronika? Now the title Blacktronika comes from Charlie
Yeah.
Dark, Attica Blues.
Yes.
He had his party in London that I used to go to and played and whatever. So I hit Charlie. I was like, yo, Charlie, you're not using the name. Can I use the name? He's like, yeah, of course, no problem. So I got his blessing. He was also in class. And so Blacktronika is such a powerful word. And then I followed it up with Afrofuturism in electronic music. So that's the course: Blacktronika, Afrofuturism, and electronic music. So we trace all the heroes and innovators of color that have pushed electronic music into, the forefront.
Yes.
And this class just blew up. And long story
Yes.
short, as soon as we started, I had to go online, virtual, because of we were quarantined, right? And so it was a blessing because, um, first of all, the music is immersive, right?
Yes.
So in a lecture hall, you're going to lose the intensity of what the music is about. So with headphones, you can really enjoy the sounds, right?
Yes.
And also, we have guests every week. So my Rolodex, for those who don't know what a Rolodex is, it's 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 like all my contacts in one place. So it's vast because of
Yeah. Yeah.
years of working and contributing as a practitioner to this canon.
And I have to say, the Blacktronika Instagram page is epic. Like I just like scrolled through
Thank
there, and
you.
I'm just
Yeah.
like, why isn't that people like, like whoa?
Thank
You
you.
got Jill Scott, you got Questlove, you got like so many.
Yes.
Again, you have people, and I know these people are just your friends.
And I
Like
just started calling all my
exactly.
friends, like Goldie, Carl Craig for Hero, whatever.
Goldie was on there. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, whoa, that's ill. Yeah, yeah. No, I think when it comes to when you told me that you are uh teaching this course that you created, and utilize Charlie Dark's terminology, as the umbrella term, to bring it all together. To me, it just is a uh when it comes to inclusion, when it comes to looking at media, not seeing yourself, not seeing somebody that looks like you.
Yeah.
There's too many. It's quick to have the response of many are quick to have the response of protesting, as opposed to seeing that this is a blind spot, and I am now opening, yeah, activated to create something that people clearly have just, again, there's you're addressing a blind spot. And I think that there's so many creative people that can take notes and say, oh, if you don't see yourself, then just step in the room and bring your wealth of experience with you. Like that was super.
100%, man. And you know, always I always love that quote, be the change you want to see.
Absolutely.
Be the change. You can sit around and complain, oh, this isn't, do it.
Yes.
And everyone's talking about, seat at the table. Just create your own table.
uh
Like, for instance, we just, you know, one of the best TV shows of all time just ended, Insecure.
yes.
Love that show. And, the power of that show, showing independence and being the change and in all different kind of contexts
Yeah.
through each character. Just incredible. But also her personal, Issa
Yes.
Rae's personal journey, and watching that and the parallels, of course, drawing from that into her show, Insecure. Come on, man. That's inspiring, man.
But even her personal story, like I remember her when she was
Mm-hmm.
awkward black girl
Yeah.
on YouTube, and that series was brilliant,
Brilliant.
and she just, again, she saw a product that wasn't out there, and instead of feeling left out and feeling like I have, you know, I have a world that neglects me, she was just like, I have an opportunity, you know.
Exactly.
She and again, the internet and technological progress and all this possibility, I just love the idea for young creative people to just be activated, as much as possible, and push further against any desire to uh I'm feeling over protesting, like, especially when it comes to creative people. Like, I think that when it comes to the times, and when it comes to current understanding of imbalances and injustice, I think I think there's a I think there's a lot of people, and I'm addressing young people in particular, who feel guilty if they're not participating in the protest, as opposed to building upon innovations that
So
they see into. And it's especially for, like, a message that I have for people of color, particularly Black people. Your mastery is direct uh, disintegration of
yeah,
white supremacy.
absolutely.
The better you get at being better than the average white person, the more white supremacy disintegrates, the more male supremacy disintegrates, the more the conversation becomes just more unexpected and more future, you know?
Yes. And it's wild that you bring this up because in the class, I really emphasize the importance of sociopolitical context of the times when the music was created with these different genres. So let's just say, just dub reggae, like how sound system culture, how it started,
Mm,
in Jamaica at a time where there was this kind of separation between really rich Jamaicans and
mm,
underrepresented Jamaicans, and they needed an outlet, to enjoy themselves, right? And so they started to build these amazing sound systems.
mhm,
And of course, there's an unspoken competition between each neighborhood, and then from that, you know, instead of just playing music from elsewhere and also music that was just kind of already being manufactured, they started to make their own rhythms.
yes,
So from the need of creating a change for the community, out of that came, okay, let's get let's get these musicians and create our own rhythms and then
yes,
press them up, and then that becomes a business.
yes,
And then there starts to become commerce.
yes,
It expands, and then of course the Windrush, when a lot of Jamaican families moved to the UK for work, and so now that culture goes from Jamaica to the UK and explodes. But sonically, this music, because of technology, started to go over. I can go into the history, but once you teach someone who's 18, 19,
mhm,
who's into dubstep, like let's just say Skrillex, right? Who I love Skrillex, right?
mhm,
Early Skrillex. But taking like certain dubstep that you hear in the US, but not knowing the history behind any of those sounds that they're coming that they're listening to, that's in the fabric, sonic fabric of America. And if you don't know that history, you just kind of take it for granted. Once they know the history of house, how it came from the yearning of the LGBTQ community in black
mhm,
communities, needing a safe space to create, just to be free, just to feel at home, or disco. It's, because that's like the daughter of disco is house, right?
Mhm.
Or Detroit techno, a music that rebuilt the city, but
Mhm.
also helped bring in a new generation together in Berlin. So
Mhm.
this music, there's an urgency behind this music, and every snare, every kick, every
Mhm.
sound is there's purpose behind it. Now,
Mhm.
over the years, there's been a disconnect with that because of the erasure of people of color in the conversation around techno, house, all of this. And then the ease of making it, you know, it's not as easy. There's not a community around the creation of it anymore. Everyone's in their room, they can drag and drop.
Mhm.
Anyone can make a house track now. Anybody, kid 8 years old. But there's that urgency behind it isn't going into the sound. And so it's not the same. It's kind of like wallpaper, right?
I will say something,
Yes.
because they're it's not the same,
It's
but
different.
it's never the same. Like when you
Uh,
think of,
Good point.
like I remember I remember growing up, and I grew up as a kid in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
So hip hop was
absolutely.
was
That's it.
doing what it was doing, and it was blowing minds. And I grew up in the age of a bunch of pissed off jazz heads.
Yes, yes, yes.
I,
I
I I
remember.
remember the 80s where people were still saying fuck disco.
Yeah, of
you
course.
know,
Yeah, yeah, of
I
course.
remember, like just so many, and even like thinking about like uh CO Smooth talking about the jazz heads that spread their uh disinterest in what they had to offer,
Yeah.
to the culture. So again, technological progress is producing, a younger generation that again is taking it to the next level, and again
Oh,
just doing
100%.
mind-blowing things. But one other hyper hyper fascinating thing about uh culture derived from the African American experience that is spreading all over the planet is, more than ever, it's a time capsule,
Absolutely.
more than ever, if you sit and listen to a track,
Mhm.
and it is made from something that was pre-recorded from a pre-recording from a pre-recording from, and there's a possibility, there's an absolute possibility that you're going to listen to a track that some, white kid in the middle of Kansas who
Mhm.
suddenly becomes a top DJ in the world. If you break it down,
Oh, absolutely.
it goes all the way back to some
DNA.
soul sample, from this point of at some point or another, you're going to be reading about the almond break. At
Yeah.
some point or another, you're going to be
This
tapping into like all these other contributions. And
this is what we show in class. We
yes,
we 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 completely dissect samples, and we call it sonic DNA, going all the way back, showing the whole almond break, like the Winston, right?
yes,
Just showing it all, showing how to cut it up,
yes,
and to see their eyes, like, oh my God, like, not knowing, because 18, 19, not knowing. But what you said is true, and I didn't want to come off in a way that I'm negating anything that young people are doing now, because I'm learning from them and they're learning from me.
yes.
And a lots of genres, like when we had Flylo in, and anybody from the LA beat scene, I've had everyone in, right? That the whole kind of naivety of going into the production and the overuse of compression,
Mm,
that sound that created the LA beat scene
yes,
sound, right?
yes.
The overcompressed, everyone was putting it on MySpace and just
Hmm.
sharing these sounds, but not knowing how to. They're just figuring it out, just like we
Sure.
back in the day. We didn't have manuals. We're just figuring it out. We didn't read the manuals. We're just figuring it out. And so there's something really magical to be said about the art of discovery through that. So
Sure.
I wasn't negating
No, no, no.
anything, but it's I'm glad you made it clear. But what my job is to show the history
Yes.
of the intention behind the music at those certain times, and that intention made that music even more
Hmm.
important, not only for that time but for the future. And so what I'm trying to get into the heads of my students is, especially the ones that produce, think about the intention behind things. It doesn't always need to be political, but
Sure.
just think about that intention. Like, this is a release of energies into your art. It's not just, maybe it is, maybe you just want to make a lot of money and get a lot of companions or whatever. And so
Sure.
if that's your goal, if that's your intention, cool. Just be clear on what your intention is.
Sure.
But showing them this side of things politically, it really, especially first quarter, we go by the quarters, not semester. I saw it because the protests were happening.
Hmm.
We're also studying like the Black Power movement. We're studying civil rights movement and the music behind that, and how funk and fusion came out of that, and then you know gay liberation movement, women's lib. Seeing all the results, all the music coming out of all of these protests, and then they're actually dealing with seeing the protests in real time.
Hmm.
A lot of those students made tracks fueled by these protests and watching. It was powerful, man.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
And one student was like, "It this class made helped make me a better ally to the African American culture here in the U.S." I was like, "Wow."
Yeah, I see. I just referred to uh, African American culture, especially
Yeah,
the most current version of it, as a
yeah,
time capsule, and I
absolutely.
see you as a person that highlights the opportunity to open the time capsule, you know,
Always. Oh,
and spread it all out and have an understanding of what has just stepped into the room, you know.
yeah.
And then again, you have the opportunity of actually adding to that, closing it back up and sending it to somebody else.
Well, they're
So
portals. It's portals. I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
hip hop bridged generations, especially when sampling came into,
Yes.
right? So, you know, you're sampling Weldon Irvine or Ron Carter.
Hmm.
You're going to try to find what that sample is, who that sample is. But then Q-Tip, Diggable Planets, Guru, Jazzmatazz, like started to bring these actual musicians in
Yeah.
to record. So it's giving this new life to these musicians that some maybe have been forgotten about. And then it resurrects their career, but it also bridges parents and kids
Yes.
through the music. And that was a really powerful, hip hop is powerful, but also
Yeah.
the art of sampling, and like you said, these are portals.
Yes.
They're portals.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Speaking of portals though,
yeah.
your world, this what do you
Yeah. Good
so what
segue,
yeah,
in terms of, yeah, I think when it comes to, what I'm hitting you about, I've been, I've, it's funny, I've been so quiet on social media. I've been super just going hard into drawing, painting,
good.
writing, uh, and building this world out. I think that that's the thing is, and I'll dive into re- repeating some of the conversation that we had over the phone, even though it will sound redundant for us,
Oh, but they done.
activating it for everybody else. Um, yeah, I for a while, I would say about 5 years ago, I needed to pull back from client-based commissions because the world on the other side of my imagery was calling me to develop these characters and develop their relationships to each other and develop their relationships to the world that they live within, and really yeah, like that to me was the answer of the question of why are people going to be coming to my studio, spending lots of money and collecting Joshua May's work, you know? And it's because there's value on the other side based upon storytelling possibilities and developing intellectual property, developing whatever my studio's version of Disney or Marvel Comics or whatever, like developing a a just a true realm and a brand
Realm.
that
Yes.
can connect people,
Realm.
and give people a place to. And it's so crazy, like I start um yeah, so about 5 years ago, I just kept getting client-based work, and it's great to get paid, and keep the lights on and keep the rent paid and all that, thus forth. But I could tell that, and it's also great that I've developed my style enough and put it out there enough that clients are like, come and do whatever you want to do.
Exactly. Yes.
I'm
The
flying you
freedom.
out, come and do what you want to do. But when you're working in the realm of client visions, there's only so weird that you can get with your explorations. So the pandemic happened, and it was just like that shut down. And I finally got the 12 months straight of that I was asking, you know,
Manifest. Yeah.
for that opportunity to dive in and get weird, to dive in and like really stretch my style and walk down that path in that drawing that I created and see where it connects. And I created a fictional city called Olgaruth. Um, Olga is my father's mother's name. Ruth is my mother's name. So combining my grandmother's names to create this place as a platform, for what's happening next. And yeah, I divided it into 31 districts, and really it popped into my mind of just like the culture that I can spread into there, and the possibility of dividing myself into a city full of alter egos, contributing and living and
Yeah.
interacting and so on and so forth. And then the beginning of 2021 came, and suddenly the NFT conversation, like ult- ultimately I wanted to do this project because I wanted to go and have a proposal for Netflix, for an animated series,
And you should. Yes.
and or whatever major streaming services. There's going to be a heavy competition by the time this story is fully fledged and written and
Yeah.
executed. And video gaming, to the Rockstar games, or to the world building uh game possibility.
Mhm.
But then when the NFT conversation came, it was like, oh wow, I can create, I can not only create a a fictional realm, I can attach an economy to it. I can immediately have a place with a city of commerce, and I can have a cultural district, and I can have a series of restaurants, and I can have and yeah, the idea, um, it's crazy to look out into the NFT space, and it basically created a stage for like, it's like the world was like, hey, you've been working on this thing. Well, we are suddenly creating the platform exactly for that thing that you're creating.
Right.
And it's so fascinating. And one aspect, so I'm creating 10,000 tokens
Yeah.
in 2022, and the first
Okay.
5,000 are dropping in March. And I've been sending you imagery. I've
Yeah,
been
I've
sending you
been
the
oh,
imagery of the tokens, and I just
phenomenal.
want to get your take on what I've been sending you. And
First of all, yeah. So first of all, congratulations, right?
thanks, man.
Um, first on having the vision to do it, and then also to have the time to do it, which is a blessing, right? And I think
Absolutely.
it's a blessing, not just for you, but for a lot of artists who, a lot of, let's just say in the music industry, a lot of musicians who they did albums during the quarantine
Hmm.
that they wouldn't do normally. Like you weren't, most dance producers weren't really doing dance music because you couldn't really go to a club, right? So a lot of them experimented with, more down tempo or ambient or whatever. So it was beautiful to see. So given that time, you used it wisely. But also, like you said, your art, you, over the years, you've developed it to such a, it's no one can copy your style. Like no one. It's and wherever you are in the world and you see one of your murals, you're like, it's Joshua Mays. Like instantly. And even people on the net, because you're so on the net, especially early Tumblr days and whatever, it's in people's heads. They may not know your name, but they know, that's that guy on, you know what I mean? And I'm just talking general. And so it's beautiful to see that progression, but also to see, so everything you've been sending me, I'm like, yo, this is now, you got to understand, I'm coming from super nerdy black kid in Philly, and I went to school downtown, a place called Greenfield, and I was one of three black kids in this school from sixth to eighth grade, and that's where I learned to play Dungeons and Dragons, right? So I played Dungeons and Dragons for like 10 years, right? Now I'm not comparing or anything, but when you said I forget the word you can't I forget the word you said earlier, but this everything you're sending me just really kind of reminded me of when I used to play Dungeons and Dragons and we would enter into these worlds.
Hmm.
Especially there's one module, they were these different modules, each world was a module. And this one module was Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. And
Hmm.
what this module was when these aliens came down from another planet, but it was in medieval times,
Hmm.
right? So this spaceship crashed, and it's in this place, the Barrier Peaks, but it's a combination of sci-fi and also medieval times. So there's lasers, but swords, and it's wild, right? Very hard. This is extremely difficult module, right? But it reminded me of this world, like going in, role playing, just that whole action, right? And I'm not saying this is a Dungeons and Dragons thing. It could, I
Yeah, yeah.
it would be kind of cool to have a module. It would be cool to have a module. There's so many possibilities here because it's a world. It's a whole universe that you've created. So it can be a Netflix um, series. It can, or Disney or whatever. It can be a module. It
Yeah,
can be, now that we're going into the metaverse.
exactly. Yeah.
It is a metaverse. I, it, the first place I want to go in the metaverse is
uh,
here. Is your universe. That's where I want to go
I appreciate that. Yeah.
because because it's where I want to be. Like, look at it. It's incredible. Like, you're sending me all this artwork and tokens and everything is just so specific. You feel the intention behind it. You feel like you're trying to create a really, how can I put it? Just really compassionate and beautiful society. it's beyond the artwork. You're trying to show what humanity or non-humanity, but
Hmm.
let's just say humanity can be. It's a
Yeah.
utopian, and we kind of saw, not comparing it, but in pop culture, and we talk about Afrofuturism and everything. Black Panther, man, like
Yeah.
that world was, I was trying to go. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
I was
please.
trying to go.
Yeah, no, everybody was like super
Exactly.
wounded up, like yeah, I think, you know, I always say when it comes to the conversation of Afrofuturism, I have two responses.
Mhm.
And the first response is to me, uh Afrofuturism is just a reaction to the novelty that Black people are interested in science and science fiction. So once that novelty wears out, we'll realize Afrofuture is just the future. Um, the second response I have is whenever a young person who is a nerdy Black kid who's into science and science fiction and into comic books and into
Yeah,
Neil deGrasse Tyson and into astrophysics and into like all these realms that Black people aren't supposed to be interested in, they have something that makes them feel cool. They have something that makes them feel like, yes, come in and dive into um, anything that you want to in all reality. You don't have to do something because it makes you seem less Black, you know?
exactly.
As a matter of fact, push against those things,
Right.
in the same way that we were just talking about at the beginning of the conversation. When you don't see yourself, go on ahead and include yourself and create something because you have just addressed a blind spot in our culture, you
Exactly.
know. So when it comes to NFTs and the blockchain
Yeah.
and the current um wave of technological execution, like what is what is what has that been for you to watch and to gauge
Man,
the possibilities?
it's so at first, NFTs, the whole NFT thing, I was like, I didn't really understand the possibilities at first
Yeah.
until a few weeks ago. And
Okay.
so I've been getting hit up, man, like
Yeah.
all these companies, like especially on the music side, we want to do your NFTs, we want to da 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 da. And one of my friends is like, you can do your own NFT, but I don't have time to
Yeah.
do the kind of behind the scenes work, right? So all these companies now are starting to sign
Yeah.
or not sign, but collaborate with artists, and they'll do all the kind of hard work and I do the creative. So they do the business, I do the creative, and it would be a nice partnership. And so, you know, all these companies, I'm meeting with them and whatever, whatever. And
Mhm.
then this one company really explained, they broke it down. And I had two friends who actually did NFTs with them and were highly successful. I called them immediately. And I was like, okay, I get it now, right?
Yeah.
And it completely, and I just didn't have time to kind of dive in because I'm teaching and then I'm trying to create albums and stuff. So I
Yeah.
didn't have time to like dive into the kind of background of what an NFT, the possibilities were, and the whole idea of the blockchain, and then you know you signing the contract, the initial contract, um, and if that NFT gets sold or whatever, you automatically
Yes.
will always, for the life of it, get,
Get
and it's the
royalties.
life is forever, right? And
Yes.
you will always get royalties, and that is what's been missing in the music business,
Absolutely.
especially because there's always been these gatekeepers and middle people who
Yes.
take percentages, and by the time it gets to us, it's like, we're the creators, it should be the other way around, right?
Absolutely.
So that's what, to me, on the business end of NFTs, the magic of it, I'm like, wow, like I really want to dive in, and hopefully I will next in 2022 start to get my feet wet in this world. Now, on the creative end, I mean, come on. I mean, we've seen, and I talk from music point of view, but it's similar to art, visual art, which for me, for music, like we have all these stores, like let's just say Bandcamp is one of the greatest, right? Bandcamp, you can start, anyone can start a store, do
Mm,
your tracks, sell it. Like it's just really magical, and really,
yeah.
Bandcamp is kind of prepping you for the metaverse. You know, so the whole idea of the metaverse is 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 that it's like you're gonna have stores. It's a whole. It's like Second Life. You know,
Yeah.
it's like remember Second Life, right? And so the whole idea of having the technology to put something out tomorrow
Yes.
online for sale for consumer to buy or just to put out for people to see, it's just amazing, man. And so for
It's
your world,
yeah. It's
come on.
so interesting, because you brought up Bandcamp, and Bandcamp has been one of my it's definitely one of my favorite websites.
Hmm.
Um,
And the app
but
too. The app's good too.
I haven't even downloaded the app.
Oh, the app's
Um,
great.
I think that there's a missed opportunity with Bandcamp
Mm,
because
mm,
they're I get a feeling that they're maintaining a preciousness with their brand that makes me like whenever I find a really dope young artist who's super experimental,
hmm,
and their work can bleed and is going to bleed into future pop culture,
hmm.
they don't have a Bandcamp account. It's almost like um yeah, it is almost like Bandcamp is for they don't provide an opportunity for somebody's career to transcend, and I in the way that say their major competitor is SoundCloud. you know I think like SoundCloud has a genre of music, based upon uh its its platform being more focused on making sure that they market itself to young weirdos who are creating new culture. And I wish I actually want to go to Bandcamp. Bandcamp is based in Oakland, and
Is it?
I need to go to them with I have a proposal that's been in my mind on, you have such an opportunity, and especially with NFTs and the blockchain, there should be a whole tab based upon blockchain
It's
based projects
coming.
drop.
It's coming.
They better bring it.
I
Otherwise,
mean,
like
yeah,
like that's one thing that's sort of it's it makes me uh concerned for Bandcamp, because like Amazon is becoming better
but
at
but
me finding music on there, and I'm like,
but see, there's two different things. And you know, there's two different. Bandcamp's not trying to be SoundCloud, or they're not trying to be
yeah,
Amazon. Therefore, the independent musician who wants to put out music, put out merch. You can do live show right on your Bandcamp page now. You can do, live streaming. You can sell NFTs if you want, and that's coming as far as
I guess
that.
that's the thing. Like, I didn't know that. Like, that would be dope. There
Oh
there
yeah.
should have, like, that's one thing that was in my mind, is there should have been a Tiny Desk concert style product out there from Bandcamp.
They do.
That's
You can
but they
broadcast the show on your
they need to
band.
curate that. Like, they need to I think they have such a great product, and they need to really just do better at broadcasting that. They could be a bit more I don't know.
So what they did was
I think there's an opportunity. I see a blind spot
they
that
tested it. They tested it on maybe 20% of the Bandcamp owners. They sent out a thing, who wants to participate in this, and they provided that platform for them. Then there were certain technical things they had to retweak, because everything
yeah,
they put out is like solid. Like the app is amazing.
sure.
Cool thing about the app is it builds a community. So if you say it was all the people that follow Floston Paradigm, I can send an email to them. We can get in a conversation. I can just send a note right now and say, "Yo, we're about to go do a whole live show on our Bandcamp page. Come through."
Yeah,
It's been such an amazing kind of community building. And as far as experimental artists, because they have their radio show and everything.
sure. It's a dope radio show too. You
Yeah,
know,
Andrew's the man. They know music, they know what the artists want, but there's also that technology in the back. They just want to do it right. And I don't think they'll have a missed opportunity. I think that Amazon, they can all do whatever they want to do, but there's a certain community around Bandcamp that
sure,
is for Bandcamp.
sure. I guess that I'm just talking. I guess particularly about a blind spot that I'm just like
Yeah, yeah.
there's such and I just need to sit down and write it down. They've actually hit
Sit
me
with
up,
it. Yeah.
about like I have my biggest mural in Oakland is right across the street from their
There you go.
from their
They
studio.
see you every
So
day.
I definitely am going to bring some sort of especially Olgaruth based cultural product, or project um where I combine with Bandcamp and combine with blockchain possibilities. One thing I wanted to hit you about was uh again, like your interaction. I guess this should be one of the last things we speak upon. Um
Oh wow, time flies.
we're already at the end. Is the 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 college, you know, pay for college product is on its last legs, and at the same time, the masterclass slash product, TED Talk slash
Hmm.
masterclass product that can be turned into NFTs.
Yeah,
Like that's that next level. I could see. Have you thought about the possibilities of
yeah, yeah.
doing blockchain based educational programming?
So, you know, I'm at UCSD,
Uh huh.
and there's something to be being in academia now, seeing that, being on both sides, like having done not a master class, but something similar, than being in academia in real life with students. Nothing beats that. Like, you can do all the YouTube and all of that. I got students in my class that they're they have like 3 million followers. I'm like, why are you?
Mm-hmm.
But they want to study under us
Sure.
because of the storytelling, because of the process, like how we do things. Everyone does things in different ways, and you always find different approaches to things because of that, right? So, like, say John Cage had his way, Sun Ra had his way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to study under these guys would be like, that would have been a dream. You know what I mean? And so that's what will save academia as far as that's concerned. Now, if I was to do something with, say, masterclass and on music production, whatever, okay, that's cool, but it won't be the daily, like, and those nuances don't come out in that, because they're like, okay, cut, let's cut that again. It needs to be that.
Sure.
It's too, whatever. Now, I'm sure many universities, we already have online classes, and like Blacktronika is already, it's always remote, right? So it's
Hmm.
always on Zoom, but I'm working on an online class so that everyone can take this class. Because, there's one thing to be for the university, but there's another for the whole world to have access to this archive, right?
Hmm.
And so I'm working on that now. But as far as blockchain and all of that, yeah, I've thought about a lot of things like that and things that I don't teach here at the university. Like,
Yeah.
you know, um, it could just be, I don't know, but it could just be like the making of, if I'm making a new album, like the intricacies of how we're making that. Like people,
Hmm.
I would pay for that to see. I would love to see Pharrell and Chad from the Neptune
Yes.
create a whole album.
Yes.
When Bilal did that last album, he created it all online. That was amazing. Or Esperanza Spalding did the same thing.
Mm.
Amazing to see that. Beck was doing it dude, Beck
Yeah.
did that
Yeah.
12 years ago. He
Yeah.
did that record club thing. That was mind blowing. Feist, all
Yeah.
how they were miking things, and so I feel that is where that's where you can take, it's an extension of what academia can do, can provide, is like, okay, or whoever, in the NFT world or the metaverse, like showing that on a regular basis would be crazy, you know.
Yeah. It seems like, with technology, and with the internet, and I'm sure like when they were starting to record music, they were like, this is going to diffuse the experience of
Right.
people's relationship with music. But in all reality, technology just creates a gateway drug, you know,
Totally.
to
Absolutely. Yeah.
actual interactions, and I
Yeah.
think that is that's the magic,
Yes.
I'm yeah, I think we're in our
For
last. Go
Can I
ahead.
say one thing, for
Go ahead.
instance? So, like Blacktronika, not to keep talking about, but this is a good example. So, Blacktronika, I have 300 students more this quarter, and it's on Zoom, whatever, right? Remote. But I started a Blacktronika night
Dope.
in person. We have
Dope.
two clubs on campus, like top sound systems, killer. And I had students do visuals, killer night. 300 plus students came
Yes.
throughout the night, not all at once, throughout the night. Because of COVID, we have limitation. Line at 8 o'clock, we start. The line was like a block long. So that's an extension. That's a perfect example of, we're online, but then the lived in person experience. There's nothing that's going to top that.
Yeah, yeah,
Metaverse, metaverse, all that. I can see it's going to be amazing. And if you're a
yeah.
gamer, and if you're like 14 growing up as a gamer, that's your world.
But I still think it's going to be the gateway drug to
Oh,
actual
absolutely. Yes.
interactions, actual,
Yes.
So I
Absolutely.
know Zoom is about to cut us off soon,
Oh, okay.
So I want to say thank you so much, man, for spending this time and
Thank
doing
you,
what you
man.
do. And yeah, man, I'm excited to see you in person at some point.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
right. I'm on the west now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
So I got to
coming
get
to
down to San
Oakland.
Diego, and you
I'm
got to come
coming
to
to
Oakland.
Oakland because they got that the Afrofuturist exhibit is still up, I think, in
Yes, it
Oakland.
is still up, So yeah, man. I'll probably try to give you a call sometime soon,
All right.
But you're about to get to work on doing what you gotta do. But again, thank you for your time, bro. And
Appreciate you, man.
you know, keep
And if
doing
you
what you're
need
doing. There's
if you
so
need
much
music,
value there.
hit me up,
I
bro.
will be hitting you up.
We'll have
Yeah,
a
man.
Lost in Paradigm club, in your universe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, with the last few seconds, plug whatever you got. Blacktrona, the
I
Instagram
don't want to
page,
plug
whatever.
anything. I just want to say I'm proud of you. I'm, thankful for what you're doing, and man, you're gonna change lives, bro, with what you're doing.
I
So
appreciate it, man.
I just want to support. That's the plug. I'm plugging you. I got enough. I'm good. Plugging you, bro.
That's very kind of you, man. So anyway, yeah, I'll go on ahead and figure out how to cut this up and chop it and send
Uh,
it. But
yeah, it's
yeah,
easy.
man.
It comes in one file. Boom. It's easy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Then I'll
yeah.
be sending you a copy. But
All right.
enjoy the rest of your day, man. And like I said, I'll
Chill.
be giving you a call sometime within the next few.
Okay.
All right. Peace, bro.
Peace.